Hello and welcome. If this is your first time on our channel, this is going to be a series of videos that are all about how to properly set yourself up to be successful in Merch by Amazon. So what I wish that we knew when we started out on the platform, all the little pitfalls and traps that can get you in trouble and actually put your account in danger. These are essentially all of the things that I wish that I had known when I got started. This is going to be kind of our A to Z guide from getting from the 10 tier to the 500 tier. And that's kind of where we expect you to start actually making profit and see significant numbers in Merch by Amazon. So what we're going to start off with today is what I feel like is absolutely the most important thing for you to understand when you get started with merch. And that is going to be trademarks, copyright, infringement, and then also intellectual property. So what all of that means, because these are all things I had no idea mattered, had any kind of significance, or anything that we needed to really pay attention to when we started merch. And we figured it out really quick because we had a couple of designs that were rejected early. We actually had a violation with one of our early designs also where a shirt was pulled down. And if you're brand new to the platform and you don't know what any of that means, basically what it is Amazon wants to do their absolute best to make sure that nobody comes after them and sues them and tries to take away their money. So they are very, very strict on both trademarks and also intellectual property. So even though there may not be a trademark out there that you see for a particular phrase, if it is tied to something that is intellectual property, so for example, a football team, if your saying is tied to something that that football team is, you're using artwork that is representative of that football team, even though you aren't necessarily using a trademarked phrase, you're profiting off the likeness of that football team. That's intellectual property, and Amazon will take down that shirt. And what we found out is Amazon is actually much, much, much more strict with the lower account tiers, so tiers, 10 through 500, because they don't want to have to worry about you. They want to make sure that you understand exactly what is necessary on the platform. So if you screw up at the beginning, there's a significant chance you're going to lose your account really, really quickly. So it's very important to understand this stuff, very important to really take the time to learn it, to know it, to make sure that your designs are not infringing on trademarks, not infringing on copyright. Basically, if it's something else that's out there in the real world, if you are trying to do something that is, using an idea that somebody else has created to make a shirt, you probably shouldn't do it. Just steer clear. And I'm telling you right now, there are so many ideas once you get started that touch on nothing that somebody else has done that you can make money on. There's literally no need. There's no need to touch on any of this stuff. And I know it's hard. When we first started out, we were totally obsessed with well, what can we do here and what can we do here? And you get ideas from your friends and your family because they don't understand it. And they're constantly showing you Disney stuff or Marvel stuff or funny sayings that play off of a song. For example, Beyonce went after a bunch of people a year ago because they created shirts that said Fiancé, kind of playing off of her name. She sued those people because it was they were profiting off of her likeness, off of her intellectual property. So something to keep in mind, there are real world consequences to what you do, so you don't want to end up in that situation. So what we're going to start with is a quick overview on a couple of articles that a man by the name of Michael Essick wrote. I'll include links to these down below. These are, to me, are the best comprehensive, easy to understand guide to copyright, trademarks, parody, a lot of the things that you're going to think about doing shirts for, okay? I'm not going to read through the articles because there's nothing more boring than somebody just reading to you. I just wanted to kind of go over it really, really quickly. So as far as confusion with copyrights, he talks about, is it okay to create designs based on movies, TV shows, or bands? Draw a celebrity? Do I need to register my work to make sure it's copyrighted? What about trademarks and intellectual property? Okay, so kind of covered this a little bit earlier, but going over it again. It is not okay to create stuff based on movies, TV shows, or bands. Think about it. If you were the band and somebody was creating merch and profiting off your likeness, would you be super stoked by that? Probably not. So, where you can kind of get into a gray area on that is when we talk about parody. So, for example, I wish I would have organized this a little bit better, but I believe I know where it is. There it is. Okay. For example, this shirt right here. Okay. To me, this is playing very much in the gray area on Amazon. I particularly would not do this shirt. All right, it's talking about my Patronus is a penguin. Obviously, it's making play on Harry Potter. If you've ever watched the movie, you can see the little lightning bolt above the penguin's head. It's doing kind of a Harry Potter font. Patronus is obviously from the books and from the movies, right? So you're doing a parody in a sense because there was no penguin Patronus in the films. However, you're directly infringing on their property. I wouldn't do this particular shirt. Other parody stuff that you might see is like changing it. You know, I've seen stuff for like the band Kiss and doing a shirt with cats on it. Instead of saying Kiss, it says Hiss. Kiss is also very, very famous for going after people for using their IP. Again, I wouldn't do something like that. You have to be really, really, really careful with what you're doing when it comes to parody. There have been a lot of lawsuits in the past from companies that feel like you are infringing on their stuff, and generally the person that's made the parody loses. The exception to this is generally when it comes to political figures. So, for example, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. If you are a political figure, you're considered in the public domain, and you can make shirts, you know, parodies, all of those things surrounding them. That's why you'll see so many political shirts on Amazon. Okay. Next one. What if I want to draw a celebrity and sell it on a t-shirt? Nope, same thing, like what I talked about with Beyonce. You cannot take a person who is a private citizen, regardless of whether they're a celebrity, and yes, they are, you know, in the eye, paparazzi, everything else. You can't take that and try and profit off of their name. Okay? Do I need to register my work to make sure it's copyrighted? That you actually don't. So thanks to the Digital Copyright Act, you're essentially considered to be granted a copyright from the date that you created that material and published it. And Amazon treats it the exact same way. So if you run into a situation where somebody has knocked off your shirt and they've like taken your design or taken your artwork, the fact that you have published it first will give you the ability to take that to Amazon and go, according to X, you know, I published on such and such date, this person is in violation of my copyright. Okay? We're going to cover trademarks and intellectual property on the next page. Just a quick definition. So, I don't want to read all of this stuff to you guys. I would suggest highly going through before you upload a shirt, go to it and read through these articles. They're really, really good, in-depth, easy to read, and I do think that they will help you in the long run to make sure that your account is clean and make sure that you don't have problems. So, one last thing, parody, fair use, mashups, all of that stuff, okay? This is another one. Go through it, read it. Like Michael says, parody design is fair use and is therefore legal, right? And he says, one of the biggest misconceptions, understandings around parody and fair use is that it's legal. No, it isn't. It could be, however, it's a legal defense. It's not like an actual law. So basically what you're saying is, if you get sued, you can try and claim that it was parody, and you might be able to win that case. It's something that we really, really, really try to avoid it most of the times. You just don't really need to do. When it comes to like movies, TVs, everything else, there's other things that you can probably touch on. It gets complicated. That's why I would say, again, suggest read through the article. It'll give you some really, really good ideas about what you should and shouldn't do in terms of like best practices. And the thing you got to understand about Amazon is super, super strict. In many cases, overly strict with what they will allow on their platform. Again, because they want a CYA, they want to cover their ass. They want to make sure that you do not in any way, shape, or form open them up to the risk of being sued. So they're going to always side on being overly cautious, which is why, like, if you put up a shirt that is trademarked, has a trademarked phrase in it, even though it may not necessarily be the entire phrase. Like, for example, we just had to pull down a bunch of shirts because a trademark went live for the phrase AF. So we had some shirts up that said Dog Dad AF, Dad AF, etc., right? The only part of that phrase that was trademarked is AF. And according to trademark law, the way that I understand it, and I'm pretty familiar with it, those shirts technically should be okay. However, the way that Amazon is, Amazon tends to strike first and ask questions later. And we've seen a number of people have shirts pulled down because a portion of the phrase that they used on that shirt was trademarked, and somebody came after them and said, hey, this is my property. I paid for the trademark. It's my saying. You can't use this now on clothing and apparel. And Amazon will pull your stuff down. You'll get a violation. It goes against your account. So we're going to go over a couple of shirts really quick just to show you what I think are problems with them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use USPTO, which is to me, even though it's the hardest one to use, it takes the longest time to figure out how to kind of use it and be familiar with it. It is the end all. It is the one that pulls up all of the information, is what you should always defer to if you ever have a question. I'm also going to show you how to use TM Hunt. And TM Hunt is a very slick program, very quick. It only pulls up trademarks for clothing stuff, and it works pretty well. However, we have run into the situation before, and I know other people have as well, because it doesn't handle punctuation very well, you can very easily miss a phrase that is trademarked. Whereas USPTO, it handles punctuation very well. It'll pull up everything, whether it's punctuated or not. So my suggestion to people is typically we would start with TM Hunt just to find out really quickly if a phrase is trademarked, and then double check it before we submitted it by going on to USPTO. So let's start with the shirts really quick. And these are all shirts that I kind of picked up beforehand. So this is one of the more popular shirts in the last year on Amazon. You'll see a number of designs out there that say it. The reason that I pulled it up, and I haven't double checked it actually today, but the last time I looked, it looked like there was a trademark that had been filed but not registered. Okay, and this is something that took us a while to understand when we got onto Amazon. You'll see a trademark that is live. Okay, in this case, it's Funkel. It's text, which means anything that says Funkel, essentially, you cannot use on a shirt. However, if you noticed over here, it was filed on April 15th, April 26th. Both of these are not registered. What that means for you is, even though that the phrase has been submitted in an application, it hasn't been approved yet. Until you see a registration number here next to this live, it is not applicable. It's not in effect. However, what happens all the time, and the reason that we had to pull down those AF shirts, is somebody filed a trademark registration last year. It hadn't been registered up until, I believe it's actually going to go live with the actual registration number on the 23rd of January. So just because a shirt goes up originally and it's okay, it's not trademarked, you have to pay attention to this stuff on the back end. You have to make sure that you're checking your shirts and your designs to make sure that nobody comes back behind you and trademarks it after your shirt goes live. Because once they're granted that trademark, they're granted the rights to that saying. So when it comes to trademarks, and we'll go a little bit more in depth in this also, the one that you are concerned with when it comes to merch by Amazon overall is text. Okay, you'll see clothing trademarks that get pulled up for text, design, or typeset. Design is for a trademark for a particular design. So somebody creates a design of a logo, for example. You can't use that logo. Typeset is for a particular font. So you can't use that font along with that saying right there if you wanted to use it on a shirt. Okay? Text is more all-encompassing. It basically is the phrase. You're not allowed to use that phrase to profit off of it. So in the case of Funkel here, you would be able to upload this shirt to Amazon. Amazon would probably pause the shirt and actually have it go through a manual review process to double check, because it'll flag it as there's a trademark out there for Funkel. But it would get approved. However, if it becomes registered, it's your responsibility to go back and pull down the shirt. Amazon won't do that. They won't come back to you and say, hey, this just got registered. I know you're okay when it went up. Now you have to take it down. Like, you have to keep track of that. If you don't, they'll pull it down and you'll get a violation. Again, bad for your account. Okay? So this is an example of a shirt that you should 100% not do on Amazon. Okay? It's a play on Stranger Things. It's using the same font as you see at the beginning of the show. In a world full of 10s, being 11. 11 is one of the main characters in Stranger Things. So not only are you, and yes, they're going to claim it's a parody, right? However, 11 is a character in that show. You're using a font from that show. If you notice, like, they avoid all over the place not saying anything about Stranger Things. So what we've seen in the past is some people have gotten shirts approved, and then the way that Amazon search works, you don't necessarily need to have Stranger Things put together. If you split it up and you say Stranger Shirts is all about things, okay, and somebody searches for Stranger Things shirts, that shirt will actually still pull up. Amazon basically takes all those words, mixes them all up, and it will return the result. That will get you in really, really deep crap with Amazon too. Don't try and sneak things past. You want to be very, very straightforward. Make sure you're saying exactly what you want to say. Don't try and make it so your words, even though they're split up across a phrase, are going to return the result that you want to have returned. Okay? This shirt for sure will get pulled down, guaranteed. Amazon is very, very strict about anything that comes from a television. In fact, just real world experience, one of the first shirts that we ever had a problem with, we created a shirt for a friend of ours for the show The Handmaid's Tale, and didn't reference The Handmaid's Tale anywhere in the title, bullets, anything else, just used character names. And it was just a bulletless shirt, right? That shirt got pulled down in probably 2 weeks or so, I would say, maybe even less. And, again, we had no idea. We thought it was just, not even technically parody. It was a really stupid decision on our part because we just didn't understand it. But that's my wife laughing in the background. Yeah, when it comes to television, when it comes to movies, especially current stuff that's hot, don't do it. Next shirt. Okay, this one right here, technically, is probably okay. However, remember when I said, basically don't dance around the lines, don't try and sneak things in? So this skull is a saying that they say at the Minnesota Viking games. It's a skull clap, and it refers back to the Vikings. It's something they do at all their games. The Vikings are in the playoffs right now, and they're winning for the first time in a while. If you watched the game last week, it was crazy, so they're obviously very popular. The way that they tried to play this is it's about Norse seafarers that wore horned Viking helmets. Yeah, great gift for people to unwrap during the holidays where they're watching winter sports. They're obviously trying to sell this to the Vikings. They might be able to get away with it. This one's very borderline. I didn't check, but I don't believe skull is trademarked. You're very much dancing on the edges here. I think the fact that there are Viking helmets or Viking horns on it right now is probably enough for Amazon to go that this is infringing upon the Vikings and pull it down. Either way, like I said, it's not worth it for you to risk your account. There are so many ways to make money on Amazon, and it's such a ridiculous opportunity. 3 months onto the platform, we happen to get really, really hot, hit a trend with the Eclipse shirt, and make 12 grand. Literally, 3 months into the account, we had less than 200 designs live, and we made $12,000. This opportunity is ridiculous. Doing something like this at the beginning to make a little bit of money on something that's really dicey is just not ever worth it. Okay, last shirt here. If you know what the skate brand Supreme is, they're very famous for this particular font plus this red block across all of their stuff. And a lot of their stuff has actually become collector's items because they put Supreme on everything. Literally, they'll put Supreme on a rock and it becomes really, really hot and it sells because they only make 50 of them. Anyways, I personally would never want to do this either. And this is where I'm going back to infringing on intellectual property. I don't know, for example, if Amazon is going to pull this down. However, if Supreme saw this, if somebody reported it to Supreme, Supreme could come after you for it because you're infringing on their particular design. I'm trying to show you a wide variety of different shirts that all could be problems just to give you an idea of what you should and shouldn't be doing. Okay? Here's the Patronus one. We kind of already went over it. Again, I'm actually really surprised. There are a number of Patronus shirts on Amazon. I'm really surprised that they haven't been pulled down, but I wouldn't ever touch this shirt. Okay, so here's TM Hunt, all right? And this is what we use when we're starting out to do a design and we want to find out if a phrase is okay to use. So, for example, if you wanted to put in, just look at that shirt that we just did. I'm assuming Patronus is probably not trademarked. And it's not, okay? However, because it's part of J.K. Rowling's books, it's copyrighted. And that copyright isn't something that's going to turn up on TM Hunt, but it's going to cause your shirt to get tripped up. What I would do there if, for example, we'll just use this as an example right here. If I was going to use Patronus on my shirt, after I did that, I would come over here to the United States Patent and Trademark Office and their TESS, their Trademark Electronic Search System. Okay. After I did that, And before my shirt went live, I would make sure that Patronus doesn't have anything out there. No. Great. Okay, we're back. I had to refresh test because I had been signed out of it for too long. So, for example, we will put in Patronus here. Submit query. All right, so you can see that there are trademarks out there for Patronus. The difference is financial services. What you care about is the codes right here. This is a number 4. What you're looking for is an O25 code. That's for clothing. And obviously you want to care about the ones that are live. You don't care about the dead ones. So click through here and see what it says. Healthcare and medical services, standard character mark. So this doesn't affect clothing either. Copyright is going to supersede the trademark here, but you'll see this all the time when you're searching for, you name it, tacos, whatever, right? You'll see after you go through TM Hunt, there's no clothing trademarks. However, when you pull it up on tests, you may see a number of them up there. And you'll get better and better over time understanding how to read tests and go through it very quickly. The reason I suggest using TM Hunt first is it's a quick way to figure out if a design that you're doing is something that like you should just stop right then. Because the worst thing to do is invest money and time in doing a design or paying a designer to do something, and then before you go to upload it, search TM Hunt and realize, well, I just wasted the last 2 hours on this design and I totally can't submit it because it's trademarked. We've done that a number of times. One last thing that I'm going to go over really, really quickly is trademark alerts. So this program that you're looking at right here is called Merch Informer. And in future episodes, I'm going to go really, really deep into it because it's one of the most useful tools you can have when you're doing research for merch by Amazon. What they do offer, and one of the things I think that is very important for you to do at the very beginning, is they offer a trademark tracking service. So what it allows you to do is you can put in trademarks for the phrases on your shirts, or actually put in phrases for your shirts. And what it'll do is you can actually go through daily and check the trademarks and make sure that nothing has been filed since you've put your shirt up. It's really quick, easy to go over, check everything. As you can see, we're only set up on the 100 keyword phrases. We actually need to upgrade. We've got over 1,000 shirts live right now, and that number is going to go up quite a bit. Why I'm saying you guys should do this at the beginning. This is something that I neglected when we started out, and now I've got to go back in and do all of this work on the back end and spend the time to make sure I do this, because the last thing I want to have do is what happened to us, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Where we had shirts that were up from the very beginning, and somehow they'd gotten by. I think the trademark might not have been live or whatever. It got approved, and our shirts got pulled down, and we got 2 violations on shirts. I know.
Shirt, just different colors.
Yeah, I know a number of people who have been suspended because they had 1 or 2 violations. So that's how serious Amazon takes this stuff. I think part of the reason that we weren't is our account had been around for a while. We do not get rejections when we put our shirts up. We very rarely have a problem with anything going through. We play really, 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 really clean, try not to infringe on anything. And Amazon takes all of that into account. So just overall, biggest lesson to be learned from this first video is you have to make sure that any design that you upload to Amazon is clean, is something that is not infringing on anybody else's designs, work, artwork, anything like that. Overall, make sure that your designs are original. Make sure that your designs follow these trademark laws. Make sure that if you're doing parody, you're very, very careful with what you do. And also just make sure that you think about the long term for your account. I realize you're in the 10 tier or 25 tier, 100 tier, whatever, and you want to get out of that. You want to get to the point where you're making money and you can have more designs and you can do some experimentation. Long-term view. Long-term view is that you are still very early on the platform right now, and the best thing you can do is maintain that account. Make sure that your account is clean, work at it, grind it, grow it, because before you know it, you can make really, really, really good money. Like, don't start at the beginning and blow your chance. So, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, because what I'm going to be doing for the next probably 2 weeks or so, I guess, by the time it's going to take to go through all these videos. I'm going to do a video a day explaining concepts on how to get out of the 10 tier, how to do designs, how to do research, where you can find design materials for free or paid. What you'll find out very, very quickly, going back to the whole infringement thing, you can't just go to Google Images and grab an image and throw it on your shirt. Like, that image belongs to somebody. And that's something else that can get you in trouble. Like, if an artist goes through and they see that you have their artwork on a shirt and they haven't okayed it, that's the same thing. They can tell you that this is a violation, they'll pull it down. Or in the case of some people that do things that are really, really shady, there are people who are overseas who will literally rip thousands of shirts off Amazon and other print-on-demand sites and then bundle them up and sell them to you as, cheap designs, basically, like design packages, $50 for 300 shirts. And I've seen a number of people who were brand new on and they had no idea, take those shirts, upload them to Amazon, and then they got dinged because instantly Amazon's copycat protection realized, hey, I've got another shirt that looks exactly like this. You are not the person that uploaded this shirt. That's a problem. If it looks like it's too good to be true, it always is, especially in this business. So be smart, be careful. I hope this honestly scared you a little bit. And I mean that in a good way. Like, I wish that somebody would have told us this at the very beginning. Like, you have to be overly careful. Like, take your time. You can only upload one design a day on the 10 tier, so there should be plenty of time for you to study this stuff, learn it, make sure that you are doing the right thing. One thing that I also didn't cover, and I will cover tomorrow when we start going over the 10 tier stuff, is trademarks also apply to the verbiage that you have in your listing. So this video is going a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I will go over that tomorrow when we do the 10 tier video and explain, basically this is something, again, that we found out very beginning. We did a shirt that had to do with like drinking games, and I decided that I wanted to put in like drunk Jenga and a couple of other terms that were really stupid that I didn't even think about. But it's like, obviously this belongs to somebody. They have a product out there. Like, I can't just put that word into my listing. So we'll go over that more in depth tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it hasn't been a little bit too long, but I'd rather be more detailed at the beginning and make sure that we go over as much of this stuff as we possibly can. Thanks.